morning, everyone, and welcome to your Miracle Mindset Monday for this week. So, this week, I wanted to share with all of you a beautiful message that I received for this weekend. This weekend, there was an unexpected death in my family. It was my grandma, my mom's mom, and she did live a very full life, and she passed away peacefully in her sleep. So that was wonderful. But she did leave us all with a beautiful message. And I really want to share that message as a tribute to her, as just a way to show my appreciation and my gratitude. And so the message that she left us with was simply celebrate life, not because it ends, but because it is eternal and never ends. Treasure the experience, but do not hold on to it. Treasure all things that, treasure all things, for they are all precious. So that was just the generalized message that she left us for. Yeah, that was just the generalized message that she left us. And I just wanted to share that message with everyone. Celebrate life. Celebrate, be grateful, treasure your beautiful experiences, treasure everyone in your life, and do it with that sense of gratitude. Not with a sense of, I have to be grateful because I will lose it, but I get to be grateful because I have had the experience. So that was just something I wanted to share. And this week, we're going to be using the Ascended Masters to tell us what kind of energies we're working with for this week. Then we're also going to use the Nature's Whisper deck to give us a little bit more insight about those energies. And then we'll use the Oracle of the Angels to assist us. So let's go ahead and let's start with the Ascended Masters first. And let's see what beautiful energies we are working with for this week. Oh, goodness. Okay. So, we are working with some beautiful energies this week. So, oh, goodness. Okay. One. Oh, beautiful. All right. So, our very first card that we are working with for this week is Krishna. And Krishna is, a Hindu god, and his whole thing is find the blessing, find the joy, find the happiness. We walk through life on not really realizing how happy it is that we can be. We have an opportunity at every point in time to look for the blessing in our situation. We have the opportunity to be happy. And we have to look at, okay, where are my blocks to being happy? Where am I afraid to show my happiness? Where am I afraid to really acknowledge my happiness? Because I'm afraid that if I do, then, the happiness will leave. Maybe you have a belief that you can only be so happy. Maybe you have a belief that you can only be happy for a limited amount of time. Maybe there's a belief there that says that happiness is very fleeting and it can't be there for long. Maybe there's just that belief that's there. And what we're really asked to do this week is not only find the blessing in our situation, but find our way to joy, find our way to happiness. Maybe that's through music, maybe that's through dancing. but it's also about really just embodying that joy. And then we have Hina, next telling us that you are free to do this, that we have the free will choice at any point in time to either choose to see a situation or life through the eyes of the ego. And through the eyes of the ego simply means through the eyes of separation, through the eyes of fear. Or we can look through the eyes of love. We can look through the eyes of our source. And there are so many different ways in which to do that. There's so many different ways that you can ask, spirit, and just say, for a situation that may arise for you this week, maybe you could say, how would my source look at this? Or how would the angels look at this? How would God look at this? How would my inner being see this? And really asking yourself that question, but know that you have the free will choice either to look through the eyes of the ego, look through separation, look through fear, look basically at all the terrible, awful things, or you can look with the eyes of love. And that's always your choice. We are free to do that. And actually, the more and more that we look through the eyes of, of our source, we actually become more free. We actually get more freedom. And so as we do that, we are also asked this week to really work with Buddha and work with that meditation, working on getting in touch with ourselves. Because actually, before I got on today, as I was meditating, I saw an eagle. Now, it wasn't a bald eagle. It was just a very large eagle in my mind. And, the eagle is always that invitation to come inwards, and to look carefully so that we can really see that higher perspective. And so the best way to do that is through meditation. Now, meditation doesn't mean just sitting there and chanting Om. Meditation can be sitting there. Meditation can be walking. Meditation can be folding laundry. It can be doing dishes. It can be during your workout. It could be, there's so many different things. All meditation really is your ability to watch your thoughts and not attach to them. It's just like cloud watching. Oh, look, there's a bunny. You don't jump in your car and try to chase after the cloud that looks like a bunny. You simply watch it and then you let it go. And that's it. And as we begin to really step into that meditation, as we begin to step into that joy, as we begin to step into that freedom, we really do get to use the spiritual law of attraction, because we get to see what it is that we are truly focusing on, what it is that our minds are really attaching to. And then we can take that opportunity and say, you know what? I'm done. I don't want that. That's not what I want to focus on, which is going to allow us to really nurture ourselves and really be willing to say, okay, you know what? I'm willing to stop. Maybe there's some negative thinking in your mind about yourself. Maybe there's some negative thinking about your situation. And we have the opportunity to be compassionate with ourselves and say, you know what? Okay, I notice that and this is just a tool that I use, is I notice that Ron is really upset about this, or I notice Ron has a lot of different thoughts, maybe a lot of negative thoughts about this. And I still love, honor, and accept myself, and I'm willing to forgive myself, and I'm willing to hand that over to spirit so that it can be healed, and so that I can really step in to my authentic, free, joyful self. So this week is really, really beautiful, because it's just a beautiful invitation for joy. It's a beautiful invitation to find the blessing. It's a beautiful invitation to realize how we are free. And with the spiritual law of attraction, it's also beautiful because it helps us to see that the world is not happening to us. It is happening from us. It is our own thoughts and beliefs that we are seeing played out just on a world stage. And so we get to really, meditate, come inside, look at what we're focusing on, and then be willing to say, okay, that's not what I want to focus on anymore. And we have that free will choice to really switch our focus. So let's go ahead and let's go to the Nature's Whisper deck and see what other beautiful messages we have for this week. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So, our very first card is Be Your Best Self. So this is really about this is talking about embodying the truth of who you are. Being your best self means being that self in which the divine created. Love made you loving, kindness made you kind. And that's really what we want to embody. And that's what we have to begin to embody. And we must be willing to, set out on that beautiful adventure into the truth of who we are. And into the truth of who we are means that we are accepting. Now, this says accepting love, but I believe that this card also talks about accepting the truth of who we are, accepting that as a reality, accepting that as a truth. And one of the best ways to begin to do that is to simply be of service. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and feed the homeless. It doesn't mean that you have to volunteer and do anything. It just means that you are willing to walk into anywhere that you go, and you're simply willing to have, what's called the healer's prayer. And the healer's prayer is nothing more than, I don't have to know what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I do not have to know how to heal. I simply heal as he teaches me to heal. And so it's just a really beautiful prayer to say, I'm open. I'm here to be of service and nothing more. I'm not looking for accolades. I'm not looking to get anything. I'm just here to simply be of service. And what a beautiful way that we could simply step into the truth of who we are is by being open to that and not diving into, those ego fantasies of, I have to be the savior of the world. I have to be this or I have to be that. Simply just showing up. And showing up without an intention, really. Without showing up just to be used in whatever way. And so that kind of brings us back to those, our first cards, the Ascended Masters. Finding the blessing in our situation, knowing that's our free will choice, really meditating, and then, using that spiritual law of attraction and nurturing ourselves. So that is just, I believe our best course of action this week is to really look for the blessing. Not only look for the blessing, but look for joy, look for happiness. As we look for the joy and the happiness, we know we have the free will choice to either look with the eyes of the ego, look through the perception of separation and fear, or we have the free will choice to look at it through love. And remember, looking at it through love doesn't mean that we're putting sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops on it. It doesn't mean that we're putting pink fondant over a mud pie and saying it's a beautiful confectionery masterpiece. What it means is that we see it for what it is. We recognize it, we see it, but we're willing to let spirit inform us. We're willing to let spirit inform us. And that's really what's key, allowing spirit to inform you. As we then do that, we come into this beautiful meditation. And remember, meditation doesn't mean just sitting there chanting Om or Om Mani Padme Hum. You can do that. But remember, meditation is simply your ability to watch your thoughts. As we watch our thoughts, which you can do doing laundry, you can do, doing the dishes, cleaning, even, on your lunch break, you have the ability to just kind of watch the thought instead of attach to each one and try to follow it down a rabbit hole. As we do that, we get to practice that spiritual law of attraction, meaning our thoughts create our reality, or they make the reality that we see, because the world is not happening to us, it's happening from us. And so we then get to see each thought play out, and then we get to make the decision. Instead of saying, God, I hate myself for, thinking that, or I'm such a terrible person, we really get to nurture ourselves, have that compassion, and, be willing to forgive. As we have that willingness to forgive, we get to show up as our best self. We get to show up as the truth of who we are, which is an adventure. That's something that we all are discovering, that truth of who we are. As we come into that truth of who we are, we really have to accept that as a fact, that I am the light of the world. That is the truth of who I am, and I am willing to 100% accept that. And then one of the best ways that we get to accept the truth of who we are, we get to go on that adventure, we get to accept that, and also accept the love, is to just be in service. And remember, being in service doesn't mean you have to go feed the homeless. It doesn't mean that you have to go build churches in Guatemala. Being of service simply means being open at any given moment in time, really practicing that healer's prayer, and just being open to be of service in whatever way. Maybe you are guided to offer someone a smile. Maybe you're guided to, give someone a Coke. A personal parable from my life. Before I even got into A Course in Miracles, spirituality, anything, I was in high school. We had Coke machines, and I went out to get myself a Diet Coke. I was I had the money for it, went out there to get it. I saw a girl who was in one of my classes. Actually, I think she was in a few of my classes, sitting there, and, she just looked really sad. And for me, I wanted to give her a gift. I wanted to give her something. And so I gave her my Diet Coke. I brought the money, but I was like, who cares? I don't need the Diet Coke. I'm not going to die if I don't have it. She looked like she really needed it. So I gave it to her, and I said, here you go. Here's this Diet Coke. I hope it kind of brings a smile to your day. I could have never known that 5 years later, she would walk in to, where my mom works. And, my mom, at that point, we were on financially hard times, and she was trying to figure out, how we were going to pay bills. And this woman, walks in and says, how much money do you need? And my mom, laughingly said, well, $1,000 would be great. And she said, okay, I'll write you the check. And my mom had no idea who this person was. And, then my mom was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And she was like, no, she's like, you are, and Ronnie Schaefer's mom. And my mom was like, yeah. She goes, you will never know what your son did for me. She goes, basically, she told herself that if no one basically paid attention to her that day, that she was going to go and, hurt herself. And me just offering her that Coke, basically stopped her from doing that. And, then she went to therapy, got the help that she needed, and so forth and so on. But, she never forgot that. And then, in a time of need, she just showed up. She was just there. So you never know how small one little act of kindness can change someone's life. And we don't do it for accolades. We don't do it because, oh my God, I'm so spiritual and I'm so good. No, that's not why we do it. We do it because there is a guidance to do so. We do it just because it is kind. We do it because it is something that comes from our hearts. And when I say from our hearts, I don't mean from emotion. I mean from the truth of who we are. That's where true guidance comes from. It doesn't come from emotion. It comes from what feels peaceful and compelling. That's the best way you can tell if something is guidance. It feels peaceful and compelling. So let's be really willing to do that this week. Let's be willing to find the blessing in our situation, find our joy, find our happiness. Let's know that we have the freedom to do so. Let's really meditate. Let's look at our thoughts. Hi, Donna. Let's look at those thoughts. And then let's be willing to recognize that the world is happening from us, not to us. Let's be compassionate with ourselves. Let's really show up as the truth of who we are. Let's go on that adventure. Let's accept the truth and let us be in service. So then we're going to go to the Oracle of the Angels, just kind of giving us some affirmations for this week. And then that will wrap up our reading for this week. Beautiful. All right, just one more, please. Okay. So, we have beautiful cards here. All right, so our first one is number 25. And number 25 is the eternal light of love. The eternal light of love. Absolutely beautiful card. And let me get the book here for the affirmations. So card number 25 is, I trust in the eternal light of love which stems from my soul and the heart of all creation. I trust in the eternal light of love within every situation I find myself in. I trust in the divine light. So, it really is. It's that it harkens right back to that other card that we had about stepping in and seeing the silver lining. And it's saying, I trust that the divine is going to be there with me. All too often, we're always trying to solve every problem by ourselves. We're trying to see it by ourselves. Let's invite our guide in to help us. And we all have that same guide. You can call it guides, you can call it angels, you can call it spirit animals, you can call it the goddesses, you can call it the gods. You can call it whatever you want. It's the same energy, just manifesting in a different way that works for you. So let's call on that energy this week. And let's be willing to really see the doors to the infinite possibilities begin to open in all areas of our lives. And number 16 is, inside me is a door to the infinite. I take the time to go into my heart center and link up with heaven. Once again, going back to that meditation and sinking into the truth of who we are. In this serene place, I am eternal. Through this inner journey, I am able to see beyond life's challenges and reach higher levels of my existence. My inner light is my greatest strength and my greatest wealth. So once again, really, really focusing on coming inside of ourselves and seeking that truth. As we then seek that truth, excuse me, we get to come to card number 23, which is all about learning. And card number 23's affirmation is, I choose to learn from my experiences and always take away a gift or a little insight to further my understanding. Life always brings me what is best for my growth. I trust in life and welcome all experiences with wisdom. Absolutely beautiful. So once again, it is just a beautiful revalidation of the very first cards that we pulled for this week with Krishna and Hina and Mahatma and Melchizedek and Mother Mary. All giving us those beautiful messages of let us find the blessing in our current situation. Let's find the joy. As we find the joy, we have the freedom to choose to see things through the eyes of the ego or through the eyes of spirit. As we do that, we get to really come in and we get to meditate. We get to see what it is, what thoughts are currently running through our minds. As we see that, we get to realize that the world is not happening to us, it's happening from us. And it's happening from our own thoughts and beliefs. We get to have compassion for ourselves, and we get to forgive ourselves. As we do that, we get to really step into the truth of who we are. We get to go on that adventure, that inner journey. As we go on the inner journey, we get to accept that truth. And the best way that we can begin to do that is be of service. As we are of service, we get to trust in the eternal light of love. We get to know that there is this beautiful inner peace within us that we can reach at any time. And we get to really realize that we get to take away. We don't have to see everything as a challenge. I actually choose not to use that word. For me, I see everything as an opportunity for growth. And we get to see that if we're willing to see that. If we actually have that willingness to ask the question, how would my source see this? How would my inner being see this? How would the angels see this? How would my guides see this? How would love see this? How would the universe see this? And being willing to look at it, but from that higher perspective. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. For those of you that follow me on my ACIM support page, I will be there shortly to read lesson 307 for today.